Okay, check. Just that down. Let's do this. Hey, welcome back to another reading and writing update. Okay, reading first. I did finish Old Man's War. I flew through that one. I read that a long time ago. I want to say it's probably one of the first sci-fi books that I read. Um, at the time, I rated it 4 stars. I would call it more of a 3.5, maybe 3 right now. It's very good, but let's skip the it's very good this week. I think I rated that 4 stars. It would probably be a 3 to 3.5 stars. That's another one that kind of got me into some sci-fi reading, and at the time, it was I think it was probably would have qualified as one of my favorite books at the time. Now yeah, I mean, it was a good book to read through, and I enjoyed myself. It's a very easy read, so I did read it very quickly. The pacing of the book is a little bit interesting. So the premise is that at 75, you can go join the army, and that sounds weird, right? Of course, but then basically there's a way that the army refreshes or renews people, so that's how you join the army. And our main character, John Perry, joins with the intention of joining with his wife. She tragically dies about a year before they're supposed to join, or something to that effect. So he still carries through with it. So I think it's a very original book. I'm sure it's got some parallels with some others, but I did at the at my first reading, I really enjoyed it, and now I still had fun with it. It was just kind of middle of the road for me now. I think Scalzi, the author John Scalzi, has gotten much better. I want to say this Old Man's War is his first novel, and he kind of leans into that um, humorous, funny, lighthearted side. I just recently read another book, one of his newer ones called, um, I want to say Assistant to the Villain, but I don't know if that's right. Starter Villain. I just read Starter Villain uh, this year. Maybe that was last year. I can't remember. Um, I think that one was really good, and it's kind of showing off how he's gotten better. I did rate that one 3 stars, starter villain at the time. It's just it's a light romp through kind of I want to say that one's a little bit more modern. I don't remember a whole lot about it, but he's always been one of those authors that I really enjoy, and that I really kind of go back to when I want something easy to read, fun to read, um, stuff like that. I'm actually looking through his books right now, and I'm realizing that I haven't read. There's some Old Man's War books that I haven't read, so that's interesting. We'll probably revisit that. I remember enjoying Ghost Brigades. That's the second Old Man's War, um, and I remember enjoying Zoe's Tale. Oh, see, Zoe's Tale is 4. Man, there's quite a few that I haven't read. Okay, well, add those to the never-ending list, I suppose. So I would say that I still enjoyed Old Man's War. I'd recommend it to anybody that wants a very light-hearted, easy read. I mentioned the pacing. It's a very interestingly paced book. It kind of starts out what I would call a little slow. Can't start off too slow because it's only like a 300-page book, but it starts off a little bit slow, and then we do a lot of time skips. So like once we kind of get going into the mainline story, it's like, oh, this happened, and then months later this happened, and then months later this happened, and oh, suddenly we're at a couple years into this story. So just an interestingly paced book. Um, I think that really makes for it made me read the book really fast, because you kind of want to know what's going on, and it keeps you interested. I think it's very efficient in that you see the scenes that you're supposed to see, and that's about it. So um, 3 to 3.5 stars, definitely recommend for anybody that likes kind of that military science fiction, a little bit on the lighter side. So 3 to 3.5 stars. I rated it 4 in past life. If you like that military science fiction kind of vibe, might be for you. Oh, I did see and I have no idea if it's confirmed or how far in the production cycle it is, but Old Man's War is getting some sort of movie that is, I think Spielberg is set to direct. That could be very interesting. I think if anybody's going to direct something like that, Spielberg is probably the choice. Um, it does, the Old Man's War does kind of have Ready Player One vibes in a weird way. Similar prose, similar like lightheartedness. Um, so I think that could be a really interesting movie, um, and especially with a choice like Spielberg to direct. I'm curious as to how they'll translate some of it. It is very weird, crazy alien oriented and lots of different aliens and um, not like your Star Wars super human like aliens, but very out there aliens. So I think it could be really interesting. I think, if Spielberg's attached, that's probably a good sign. Who knows? For nonfiction slash audiobook, I'm still on Cultish. I'm about 70% of the way through. It's been all right. I've I've lukewarmed on it a little bit, so it's still enjoyable. It's just I don't know. It's hard to describe because I think it's a very important book, and it says a lot of important things. I think the book itself is important. I think that the language of the book is very interesting. Um, I'm not as like hyped about it as I was last week when I was just starting it. It's still been good. It's just not. I thought it was going to kind of make it to a favorites position in nonfiction. It's just all right. Another book that I'm kind of starting ish. I got some short stories by Leo Tolstoy. Um, I actually found this by, of course, I found as if I found Tolstoy. No, I I discovered that I wanted to read some of this in that we bought a children's book, and it was called The Three Questions. Um, very, very interesting and very deep and profound for a children's book. So I found out that it was based on one of his short stories. So what I did is I bought that for my Kindle just to kind of have that in the background if I forget a book one day or something like that. So I'll probably go through that really slowly. So I don't even know if there'll be updates on that unless I just read one of the short stories and really enjoy it and think that it deserves some time here. Um, Judging by how the three questions went, that's a very good possibility because I really did enjoy that. Update on what I'm reading now. I am reading the second Dungeon Crawler Carl book, Carl's Doomsday Scenario. I am like 30 pages into that. What I'm liking so far is that it just picks right up as if you kind of finished book one and you went to book two. Um, I I tend to really like that. I I'm sure that there's situations where you kind of need to rehash what happened in the last book and kind of for a couple chapters it's like you're re-explaining some things. I tend to really enjoy when an author just kind of jumps in. I don't know if it's a trusting their reader kind of thing or maybe it's just a stylistic choice, but just jump straight in and it's like, hey, the other book is out there. If you need a refresher, go read that. Whatever the case may be, I enjoy it when we jump straight in, and Carl's Doomsday Scenario is doing that. So, been enjoying that so far. Need some lights. Of course, it gets weird as I'm filming this. Is that better? I think that's better. Oh, one last thing I did want to talk about. I know that The Strength of the Few, the follow up to The Will of the Many by James Islington, is coming out. And I'm pretty excited for that one. Will of the Many was a little bit of an unexpected thing for me, and I really enjoyed that. So I'm expecting for Strength of the Few to at least be entertaining. I love the premise of the book where you've got people that lend their not lend, but they kind of forcefully have to give their willpower to others. And so people can, basically gather will and have many, many different people with using many, many different people's will. And that's kind of how they, use devices and things like that. I thought that was a very interesting, maybe not the freshest premise in the world, but very interesting. And I thought the premise was really well flushed out, and the ending to the book was really good. So, very curious to see how that'll be. Upcoming, I also really want to read Blood Over Bright Haven. I think that might be kind of next up. I might look into picking that up during my travel. Um, and that might be something that I read after Carl's Doomsday Scenario, if I get to that. If not, it'll probably be the next Dungeon Crawler Carl book, or maybe something else. When I travel, I typically take a book and then my Kindle with me so that I don't have to take a bunch. And then if I happen to finish the book that I'm reading at the moment, I'll find something on Kindle and get that. I also realized that I had bought the Poppy Wars trilogy on audiobook, and I'm really interested to revisit that. I read the first Poppy Wars quite a while ago, and while I marginally liked it. It didn't super connect with me, but now I've read a little bit more of R.F. Kuang, and I'm very interested to revisit that, especially in an audiobook format. So might move on to that next as well. It's getting hot here with all these lights. All these lights. One, two, 2.5. Okay, on to writing update. I am going to call it 55% this week. Since I mentioned I've slowed down a little bit last week, I've been really happy with the quality that I'm getting out of it each and every day. It's giving my mind a little bit more time to process what I'm writing at the time and to kind of move on to the next thing more efficiently. So while I'm making a little bit slower process, I think that the quality is picking up. So I'm actually very excited about that. Just today, I've had a couple ideas for where some of the plot's going to go, but I think one of the most interesting things that I'm experiencing right now is that it truly is taking on a rhythm of its own, in that the story is demanding things of itself. Um, I don't want to sound too out there right now, but like I am just kind of putting down the things that I feel that the story is demanding. Of course, I'm writing it all, but it's just very interesting to see that when you get to a certain point, you kind of become the vessel. Sleep token reference. You kind of become the vessel that it flows through, and that's a really cool feeling. It's almost like a weird kind of flow state, and so that's been really enjoyable. I expect to make some progress this week. I'm not sure how that'll go while traveling, but it could be lots more or it could be a little bit less. So we're kind of pushing for 60% right now. Um, I'm kind of trying to figure out how we need to start kind of ramping up to the conclusion, just because I do kind of like it when books have a little bit of a longer ramp into that conclusion and a longer, either climax or whatever that may be, and just really fleshing that out. So excited about where we're at, excited about where we're going, and I think that the slow down progress is we're sacrificing a little bit of speed for some quality. The rest of the book, the ones where I wrote a little bit faster, the quality is going to get there. It's just going to take some work on the back end. So I feel like I'm just kind of investing at this point. I think that the time has to go in either at the front or at the back. So, we're just going to have to see how that pans out. So that is it for this week. Thank you so much for swinging by. If you've got any recommendations or any news or anything that you're excited for, pop it in the comments. We will talk about it. And that's it. We'll see you next week. Bye.